Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, I'm going to share my complete US B1/B2 visa journey with you. Literally everything, from booking the very first appointment all the way to getting that final visa approval. This was actually my very first visa process and my first international trip, so as you can probably guess, I was incredibly nervous the entire time. But we're going to break it all down. And I'm hoping that by sharing my firsthand experience, it'll help ease the nerves for anyone out there preparing for their own US visa interview. Let's dive right in.
So, every great journey has to start somewhere, right? For me, it started with a pretty massive hurdle. I applied for my B1/B2 visa in January 2026, but when I went to book the appointment, my jaw kind of dropped. The absolute earliest interview date I could get was in October 2026. I mean, that is almost a 10-month wait. I definitely wasn't happy just sitting around for nearly a year, so it instantly sparked this problem-solving mindset. I had to find a way to get an earlier slot.
Well, a few days later, I was talking to my boss about how frustrated I was, and he gave me this absolute game changer of a hack. He told me that new slots actually open up late at night. And it makes total sense when you think about it, because that's when the system processes cancellations and reschedules from other people. It was a really great reminder that sometimes you just need a little insider knowledge from someone who's navigated this system before. So, armed with that tip, I went to work. For the next 10 to 15 days, I diligently logged into the appointment portal every single night just to check. And you know what? That dedication totally paid off. I got incredibly lucky and snagged a canceled slot, rescheduling my appointment all the way up to February. Just by putting in a few minutes of effort at night, I managed to shave several months off my waiting time.
Alright, so with the date secured, let's move on to the actual appointments. First up, biometrics in Kolkata, which was, thankfully, really quick and easy. I showed up from my 10 a.m. slot at the Visa Application Center. There was already a pretty decent queue outside, but the security guards were super organized, only letting people in based on their exact appointment times. Now, before you head upstairs, there is a very strict security check. They are absolutely serious about this. No prohibited electronics allowed inside whatsoever. No phones, no smartwatches, nothing like that. But honestly, it keeps everything moving really smoothly.
Once I actually got upstairs to where the Indian staff counters were, the process was so simple it immediately lowered my tension. If you've been stressing about this part, don't. It's literally just 3 quick steps. First, they take your fingerprints. Second, they snap your photograph. And third, they just ask a few really basic questions to verify who you are. That's the whole shebang.
And honestly, the most shocking part of this whole step was the number 2, as in 2 minutes. That is entirely how long the actual biometric process took at the counter. Less than 2 minutes. Once everything was done, the staff let me know my biometrics were successfully recorded and just gave me a quick reminder about my upcoming embassy date. It was a massive wave of relief, at least for the moment.
But of course, the relaxation didn't last long, because 7 days later, the tension ramped right back up. It was time for the make-or-break moment, the main interview at the US Consulate in Chennai.
Just to set the scene for you, my appointment was at 9 a.m., but I was so anxious I got there an hour early, at 8. And wow, there were already hundreds of applicants waiting in this massive queue out on the footpath. It really validates the universal anxiety everyone feels about this process. Just like before, they only let you inside according to your time slot, and the security is intense. It's very much like an airport security checkpoint before you can even step foot inside the embassy.
Once I finally got inside, enjoying the incredibly long B1/B2 visa line, I noticed a really fascinating logistical detail. The line kind of moved based on language. I saw that applicants who were comfortable speaking English generally moved through the process just a little bit faster. But if someone preferred another language, they were seamlessly directed to available translators. It was just cool to see how efficiently they handle such a diverse crowd.
So while I'm standing there, heart pounding, waiting for my turn, I'm watching the people ahead of me. There was this family right in front planning a June vacation to the US. After a surprisingly short interview, the officer smiled at them and said, "Your visa is approved." Watching them get approved made me so excited, but honestly, it made me even more nervous because I knew I was up next.
Then, my number was called, the climax of the whole journey. I walked right up to the counter, and behind the glass, the visa officer actually greeted me with a really polite, smiling good morning. I just replied, "Good morning, officer, here's my passport," and handed it over. And just like that, the official interview began. She didn't waste any time, though. She got straight to the point. Here are the exact questions she asked me. Why do you want to visit the United States? What is your salary? How many days are you planning to stay? What is the purpose of your trip? What does your client do? And finally, what does your company do for that client? I just made sure to answer every single question honestly and confidently. And get this, that entire rapid-fire exchange took only a couple of minutes.
And then the moment of truth. She looked at me, smiled, and said the exact words I had been hoping and praying to hear since January. Your visa is approved. I immediately just said, "Thank you, officer," collected myself, and walked out of the embassy, officially ready for my first international trip.
The aftermath is honestly so relatable. The second I stepped outside those embassy doors, I realized just how much nervous energy I had been holding on to for months. I grabbed a cup of water, took a massive deep breath, and finally relaxed. It was the biggest wave of relief. Looking back, I realized something so important. The worry and the nerves leading up to the interview were actually way worse than the reality of the interview itself.
Okay, so having survived all of that, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts and, more importantly, concrete tips for success for your own upcoming interview.
If I could boil my advice down, it's really just 4 core rules. First, be honest. Your truth is absolutely your best asset. Second, answer only what is asked. Don't over-explain, just keep it brief and direct. Third, stay calm. Take a deep breath before you walk up to that counter. And fourth, be confident. Remember, the interview is usually much shorter than most people expect.
So with the hardest part out of the way and a freshly approved visa in your passport, where will your first international trip take you? I really hope sharing my experience gives you a much better idea of what to expect, lowers your stress levels, and helps you focus on the fun part, the trip itself. If you found this explainer helpful, please let me know and feel free to share your own travel dreams in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me today, and happy travels!